Good day, viewers. You are watching TV 360 Nigeria. Today we are looking at a very important issue in the polity, and we hope that you follow us through this process. The security and protection of lives and properties is perhaps one of man's fundamental needs. The Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999, as amended, emphasizes a very important fact under the fundamental objectives and directive principles of state policy. In Nigeria, despite government's attempts to live by the spirit and letter of the 1999 Constitution as amended, as it relates to security, she faces enormous storm ranging outright discordant tone with government policy on the security architecture of the country. Now, these issues raise many questions, and a further debate on it throws up more questions. Now, to help us dissect these issues, human rights activists in the studio. By my immediate right is Effiong Inibe, or Inibe Effiong rather.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming for the show.
Thank you.
And also, I have with me a lawyer and a public affairs analyst, Tunji Abdurrahman.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming for the show.
My pleasure.
So today we are looking at national security, and then we're also looking at the implication, okay, the rising tension in the land, the implication of the issues of security, and looking at the law itself. What does the law say about the issue of security in Nigeria? And how can we, provide solution to the lingering tension of insecurity in Nigeria? So I will start by asking you, what do you make of the security strategy of the Nigerian state?
It is one that has totally collapsed. It is one that needs to be radically altered in terms of structure. It is one that does not inspire confidence in the citizenry. Nigerians are being slaughtered. There are hundreds and thousands. People's houses, people's properties, people's businesses are being destroyed, being looted. Communities are being invaded. We are seeing armed gangs, terrorists, and so-called bandits basically on a rampage. There seems to be no effort or concerted effort to deter the degeneration of the security architecture in the country. For me, that is quite troubling. Tragically, too, we have an administration, a regime that is preferable, that is headed by a retired Major General who, as Commander-in-Chief, I say without mincing words, has demonstrated absolute incompetence, not only in giving leadership, but also in his total and complete lack of concern. How do you explain a situation that despite the ongoing killing, despite the destruction by Boko Haram, by the so-called headsmen, by bandits, the service chiefs are still in office even when their tenure had expired? There has to be a policy of consequence in this country. And the reason why things keep degenerating is that public officers, those who find themselves in positions of responsibility, they are scarcely held accountable. When you have a chief of army staff, a chief of naval staff, chief of air staff, chief of defense staff, being retained by the president at a time that their competence has been thoroughly called to question. When you see neighboring countries like Niger, for example, sacking the head of the army, when the terrorists Boko Haram attack a particular section of the country, one attack, the head of the army was sacked. Under Buratai as chief of army staff, our soldiers have been slaughtered, people have been killed, the morale of the armed forces has been lowered as never before. Unfortunately, the president does not appreciate that he has a constitutional obligation, which itself is even the primary purpose of government under Section 14, subsection 2, paragraph B of the Constitution, to secure the lives and properties of Nigerians. So what I have seen is that Nigeria that today does not appreciate human life. There has been total lack of care, total lack of concern for the safety and security of the citizens. And for me, as lawyers, as citizens, we must take interest in what is going on. We cannot continue to retain a structure that does not encourage efficiency. Currently, the police force in Nigeria is rated as the worst in the world, or one of the worst, the most corrupt in the world, and one of the worst in the world, in terms of structure, in terms of attitude, and so many things. The police have been totally inefficient across the country. Yes. They are unable to solve the issues that are troubling the country.
We'll come to those specific issues. It is just your opening thought. And now, to Barrister Tunji, what do you think responsible for the breakdown of, the security architecture strategy of the Nigerian state? Because if you look at it, we have myriads of crime. Now we have banditry on the list. We have insurgency. We have kidnapping. We have armed robbery. And now we also have issues where we're discovering homes where people are imprisoned in the name of health care or traditional health care. These are offenses and crime that we have all over the country. There seems to be, a multiplication of crime and criminality in the Nigerian state. What do you think is responsible for that?
He has mentioned some of the issues responsible for it. And one of the major reasons is that we have people who have not shown that they have the capacity to handle the issue in time. Because if you look at the situation of the country, this issue has been there for long. And it's really, when you consider the current government, they came into power, and one of the major agenda of the government was the issue of tackling security. To me, I've not seen much difference in what they've done. I've not seen them acquire enough fighting materials for those who are fighting the war to be able to fight or prevent insecurity in the country. A situation whereby those who are fighting have a weapon that is stronger than your own. There's no way you can do anything in that regard. A situation whereby those who are fighting the insurgent or the whatever they call them, they are bandits, the kidnappers, whatever. They are not well taken care of. The welfare is not taken care of, or they are not enough. There's no way you won't have insecurity in this country, in the country.
Talk about security agents that are not well taken care of. Was that not why the southwestern governors came up with the Amoteco arrangement for the purposes of assisting the traditional security forces to get the job done?
So I think they came in not to take care of the welfare, but just came in to say, okay, let's ensure maybe we can do more to support and give more security to our zone. That is the southwest zone as it is. I think that is the major reason. And I said they didn't talk about, it's not about welfare, in the sense that, look, I even look at the proposed salary for these people that they are being engaged to. It's not encouraging at all to say you want somebody to go and fight insecurity and you'll be paid 13,500 naira.
Has that been confirmed? It was only a launch?
No, I said that's what I've been told now. For now, as it is now, they've gone back to the drum board.
It's not been confirmed.
Yeah, I said what they said initially. Yeah. They've now gone back to the drum board to be able to work out the modalities on the operation of the Amoteco. Okay. I believe we need this kind of a thing. But if we don't do it with good intention, we may not get results. And the major problem here will also be finance. And what I've said, the welfare. If the welfare of those who will be engaged to do that job is not taken out, it will be turned into another thing. Because they will have to now they cannot become a menace or using their own the grant that have been given to them to make money for themselves through the
Okay. So let me come back to you, Mr. F. Looking at the Amoteco arrangement, do you think is a viable option? Because this is just a region okay, in the experiment, let's call it that, do you think that option is a viable one? Is it supported by law? Is it rooted in the law? Is it proper for us to have such organization?
My understanding of Amotekun that it is more or less equivalent to what we have in Lagos here, in neighborhood watch, or what you could call a vigilante. Amotekun is not, strictly speaking, a police organization. Whether it is viable, I would rather say it is worth experimenting. One of the reasons that the police has failed in this country is because of the centralization of the structure of the police. When you have a man from Kano being posted to Boeing State, or you have a man from somewhere in Okshobo, in Ocean State, being posted to somewhere in Cross River State, does not understand the terrain, does not appreciate the culture, the language, there is no way that will not have bearing on the performance of that individual in the force. This is basically community policing. So the legal arguments that have been made by some person, including Mr. Malame, the Attorney General of the is neither here nor there. Because if Amotekun is illegal, Hisba cannot be legal. The civilian JTF cannot be legal, and Amotekun will be legal. But what we are recommending is that there should be a law that will, as my colleague has said, that will provide for a clear legislative framework in terms of funding, in terms of structure, in terms of recruitment, in terms of responsibilities, in terms of scope and powers and so on. These are things that require legal framework. So I'm encouraging the government, and I'm happy that they are also working in that direction. I understand the Attorney General of the 6 states in the Southwest are putting together a law that is going to be passed by the various state houses of assembly. The argument by the Attorney General that the power of policing is exclusive to the federal government is a bit hypocritical, because that argument does not take into consideration the fact that even the federal government itself has established sister agencies that are even also executing police responsibilities, like the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps.
Yeah.
If you look at the enabling act of that agency, you will see that they have far and wide-ranging powers on policing. That is one. Two, we must also make the point that under the Nigerian Constitution, the government has the primary responsibility to protect the people. But beyond the legal niceties, the Amotekun debate offers us an opportunity as a country to begin to ask questions as to the efficiency and workability of community policing and what clearly is a deficient federal system of government.
Yeah. Okay. We'll go on a short break. When we return, we'll continue our discussion on the issue at hand. My name is Evans Ufeli. Stay tuned as we get back to you. Welcome back. You are watching TV 360 Nigeria, and this is the Chronicles of the Law. My name is Evans Ufeli, and with me are my guests Effiong Enibe and Tunji Abdul Hamid. Thank you for your contribution so far. Now we're getting to the next segment. We're looking at the Supreme Court judgment on the Imo governorship election, from the tribunal to the Court of Appeal to the Supreme Court, and the judgment that came with a lot of shock to Nigerians. And I want to ask, what do you make of the judgment? Why we look at it vis-a-vis electoral reform in Nigeria?
Now, in as much as I respect the Supreme Court decision, in as much as I believe that the Supreme Court is the last court in the land, and they have the final say, I have my reservation regarding the judgment, because I have some issue that is not clear to me. For instance, I don't know how the Supreme Court arrived at how they confirm that the 388 unit that was said to have been legally omitted was actually the results that came out of the place. I don't know how they confirm it. They were told that a policeman tender the result from. I don't know whether that is a procedure, whether one person can tender document that covers a particular. I don't know whether that will not be an essay, because I'm sure the police officer was not at the venue of all the 388 zones.
Yes,
I'm also aware.
But the Supreme Court said that the respondent, made assertion that the result was fake, was forged, but that they did not prove.
I am aware as a lawyer that even where you made an assertion in a case of position or argument, the Supreme Court is not bound to agree with you, even when there's no objection to it. So the fact that there was no objection or there was no any evidence to back up the allegation is not enough for Supreme Court to say we are relying on it. Because I am aware in the Atiku's case against the PDP, is it APC, PDP, or Buhari and the presidential election, I'm aware that the Supreme Court said that for you to prove irregularity in an election and for you to prove that the result in a particular place is not properly entered, the polling officer or somebody from that police unit must tender or must come and give evidence
to that effect. So
I don't know how one person can now give evidence in respect of, or cannot tender document in respect of 388 units of a particular. So I find it curious in that regard. I find it contradictory to the initial positions of the Supreme Court on all other issues.
You think is a radical departure from?
That's my belief. Although they are trying to distinguish it, that the case here is that it's not about irregularity, it's about omission. Yes, granted there was an omission. How did you confirm that the result brought by the Open Demand Group or by the APC are actually the results that emanated from that area? Even if there is no, it was INEC. And we are also told that INEC is also said challenge that particular result. And I believe even whether or not INEC brought any evidence to support that, the Supreme Court has considered, okay, now the burden has been shifted to you. Prove it. Because in law, the position is that he who allege, he who asserts.
But the same law also provides that where you are in doubt of the authenticity of a document, where you say a document is forged, you should be able to produce pari passu.
But I'm aware the law did not say my inability to produce
makes it admissible.
Yes, I'm also aware, and I'm aware that the fact that the cases are won in court based on the strength of the case of the petitioner, not on the weakness
of the respondent. Yeah, that's taken. Thank you very much for that contribution. So I come to you on the issue of the Supreme Court judgment. What do you make of it? Is it a sound judgment? Can it stand the test of time? Did the Supreme Court err? And if they have erred, how can this be corrected? If the judgment is sound, what are the legal implications?
It might be frightening for a lawyer to say the judgment of the Supreme Court is not sound. So I would not be that lawyer. But what I would say is that I have mixed feelings about this judgment. As someone who is an election petition enthusiast, someone who has taken interest in election petition jurisprudence. Even as an undergraduate, my final year project was on election petition. It's an area I have had interest in. And what I have seen from precedent decisions of the Supreme Court, even as at 84, 85, Muobodo with Athano, all those old cases up to date, is that the Supreme Court that I know has been most reluctant to grant the prayers of a petition. The use of the mass case is unprecedented because this is the first time that the Supreme Court has had cause to nullify an election. I'm not talking about pre-election matter. I'm talking about challenge to election in an election petition. The arguments about admissibility, the arguments about probative value, the arguments about dumping of documents, the arguments about pleadings that are arisen from this judgment. What I would just say is that I am hoping and praying so and vehemently so, that the noble and learned justices of the Supreme Court gave this judgment because they were convinced that that was what the justice of the case demanded. I'm saying that because from my little understanding of the attitude of the Supreme Court election petition, everything has always been against the petition. You will call an expert witness, you will tender results from polling unit. They will say the expert cannot speak to those documents because the expert was not there at the polling units. Even when you tender the documents, they will say, "Oh, you have dumped the documents on them, on the court. You did not demonstrate the documents," and always, most time, the burden of proof is always on the petitioner. So the argument, like my learned friend said, that INEC or Ihedioha did not provide alternative results is a bit very unclear. It's a bit unclear because the polling units in contention where witnesses called from those polling units to speak to those results. Okay? If you say a document is forged, a document is not from you, you may not necessarily have to produce the original. It is possible that there is no original, that in the sense that that document may not exist.
Yeah.
But this is a case where both parties were at them had agreed that election took place in those polling units. Why the results were excluded, why the results were not accounted for, is what seems to be the loophole that INEC made. But like I have said, there are areas in this judgment that lawyers may find very difficult to explain to Nigerians to understand, including the area relating to pleadings.
Yeah.
Election petition, things have always been against the petitioner. What did result really do differently? Why will the testimony of a policeman
become the major
who under cross-examinations, from the record of proceedings, who seems to have been discredited under cross-examination, who had admitted that he was not at the polling units where those results were collated? How come that the evidence was so strong for the Supreme Court to attach probative value to it to the point of nullifying an election? These are issues that we'll continue to examine with time.
So thank you for that submission. I want to come back to you. Our time is fast spent. You're about to round off. What do you see this? What do you make of this, given that Nigeria is a country that requires absolute election reform? Because we've not had a free and fair election in this country for a very long time. What can we do, or what can be done using the law to cure this serious deficiency in our policy?
The first thing is to ensure that we rejig our electoral.
How do you rejig the electoral? As in,
in the past two elections, particularly 2015 and 2018 election, we've noticed some things that needed to be corrected. Up to date, we have not been able to correct it. So if we have done so many of the proposed amendment, the amendment proposed by the last National Assembly that was rejected by the president, some of those things will have been even reduced to an extent. And even if I don't want to close my eyes to the fact that even if we have a clean and complete electoral that covers majority of our issues, if those who are practicing the stakeholders are not sincere in ensuring free and fair elections, there is no way we are going to get free and fair elections. Because no matter how well the law is, no matter how well a contract is entered into, if those who are to enforce the contract or who are to enforce the law are not sincere, there is no way you can get support from that law. So we need sincerity on the part of the players. We need sincerity on the part of those of the politicians. We need sincerity on the part of the courts, who eventually becomes the kingmaker in some cases in Nigeria, because most of the cases most people get into prison today by virtue of a court decision. So we need sincerity on the part of the court, everybody. So sincerity of purpose is what we need to move forward.
So your closing remark on electoral reform in Nigeria?
Tragically for us as a country, the political class has been very dubious in the issue of electoral reform. The PDP was in government for a long period. They did not put in place the needed changes to electoral laws. The APC came in promising change. Today the change has become something else. The president who claimed he had integrity, contrary to his campaign promises, vetoed 3 amendments to the 2010 Electoral Act that would have improved the situation that we have found ourselves. So in closing on this, I'm recommending electronic voting. I'm recommending diaspora voting. Nigerians abroad should be able to vote.
Yeah.
We must also revisit the West report, because the West report that the late Sheikh Adwa had brought into being had addressed most of these concerns. But unfortunately, the major parties today, the PDP and APC, they are just playing cat and mouse. The truth is that I do not think, and I'm not convinced that either of those parties are committed to electoral reform. The PDP that is making noise today is the greatest beneficiary of Supreme Court decisions against the introduction of technology in election. Go and read the judgments on Carida. Most of those decisions were in favor of the PDP. So we must be sincere. We must be honest to ourselves as a country that we cannot continue with the current state of affairs. And until Nigerians begin to demand that things be done right, that the National Assembly should sit up to its responsibility. If the President vetoes a bill, the National Assembly has the constitutional power under Section 58 of the Constitution to override the veto of the President. That has never happened successfully since 1999. That is a clear evidence of legislative delinquency.
Thank you very much. We have come to the end of the show. You're watching the Law Chronicles, or the Chronicles of the Law, as we say here in TV 360 Nigeria. Until we come your way next time, we want you to keep watching us, same time, same station. This is the program that brings to you legal issues and how the legal issue affect you on a daily basis. With me on the show have been Ifeong Enebe and Mr. Tunji Abdulhamid. Thank you very much for watching. We keep on this tab while we bring you legal issues on the polity, how it affects you, and how you can make good of the situation. My name is Evans Sufeli. Signing out. Thank you and God bless.